So today we're going to unbox my Kobo Libre Colour. This is my first Kobo. I have had two Kindles. I had the second generation Kindle when that came out, and then I had whatever the Kindle Paperwhite that came out in 2016. I still have that Kindle. It does work, however the battery life has seriously degraded, so I figured it was time to upgrade. And my husband recently got a Kobo. He got the one that looks like this but is not color. I don't think it's available anymore. And he has really liked it, so I wanted to make the switch as well, because if he has something I have to have, and vice versa. Because we're children apparently. So yeah, so I'm going to unbox this. I think I'm going to try to use my little DJI camera to unbox it, just to make it complicated. Why not? It's good enough because no one's really gonna watch this. Anyway. Alright, so let me move junk out of the way. So this is the Kobo Libre Colour in white. I have been a white Kindle person since the second generation one, which I think that only came in white, and I just prefer white for Kindles for some reason. So super quick, easy thing to open. Instruction book. I guess you turn it on there. I'm not really gonna try to review this because, okay, I don't know what that was for. Okay, and then this is just the cable, USB-C, which is really nice. I did order their pencil as well, but it is not here as of yet. So yeah, super straightforward, super light. I know that the colors and potentially the writing is not as dark as it would be if it wasn't in color, but I really like the idea of color for this device. I've been obsessed with color e-ink. I remember when I got my first Kindle, I actually wanted the Nook color, even though it wasn't really, the reading screen wasn't in color, but I liked the fact that the bottom screen was in color, and I just really wanted that just so bad. But got a Kindle, and that's kind of what we stuck with up until recently. I did get this from Amazon, which sounds kind of counterintuitive, but whatever. But yeah, this is the case. Looks like it's a case that you can fold multiple different ways to do multiple different things. I don't really know how much I'll actually use that part of it. I do like the fact that the inside is like a plasticky, while the outside is like that faux leather. I do wish this was actually the hard plastic versus the faux leather, just because I would like to use put a MagSafe sticker on the back of it so that I could use a pop socket with it or whatever, but we'll see. I mean, it seems like it's fairly easy to hold. I like the fact that I can kind of stick my finger in between there, and then it kind of folds around it, which makes it seem a little bit more secure for reading, which is really cool. But yeah, I feel like that was a very straightforward unboxing. I'm not really going to give a review because I don't think I can really give a review at this time, but I do feel like it seems to be like a really well thought out device. I do like this case. This case kind of curls up in a way that, let me get where you can actually see it. I don't know, where it almost seems like it's not quite supposed to do that. I don't know if this will be easier to see on this screen, but it seems like it is part of the design as a whole. I have a few reasons for why I wanted to get a Kobo. One, I just wanted to get an updated device for reading. I've had e-readers for about 14 years, and I really like them. I had a second generation Kindle that I got right before my husband and I got married, and then I got a Kindle in 2016. So whatever generation that is, I don't know if they really give them generation names anymore. yeah, so I've been a Kindle person. However, my husband recently got a Kindle, or not a Kindle, he recently got a Kobo and has really, really liked it. So if he gets something, I'm like, I gotta get it too. So I wanted to make the switch as well. Additionally, another reason why I wanted to get just an e-reader in general is because I really want to read more. I think reading is incredibly important, even though I don't do it as much as I would like. Growing up, reading was just instilled in me as an incredibly important thing. My grandfather only has like an 8th grade education, but he reads the most books of anybody I've ever met, ever. Like, and he'll read about anything and everything. So, like, I just think it's really good to read. My mother always took me and my cousins and my sisters to the library, like, constantly in the summers. Like, that's like one of my fondest memories growing up, is just always going to the library as a kid and picking out movies and books. And yeah, so I want to read more. Ebooks are really easy to access. I mean, pretty much instantaneously. The moment you come across a publication that you're interested in, you could immediately get access to it by buying it. You can also get ebooks for free through your library, which I will definitely be taking advantage of. I already have some on hold that I'm excited to get. I personally find it's even easier to read with an e-reader because you don't have to worry about the weight of the book, the pages, being careful with it. With e-readers, I think this is pretty much waterproof. That's my assumption. Most e-readers tend to be, so I assume this is as well. You don't have to worry about, it's less, I mean, of course these are indestructible by any means, but at the same time it's less fragile than a book in some ways. However, it's also extremely fragile and expensive to replace, so goes both ways, I guess. Yeah, I also wanted to get an e-reader because I really want to reduce the amount of physical items in my space. There's not a ton of stuff really in the room behind me, but in our bedroom I do have it's the 5x5 Kallax, and that is just filled with books, and it's not that it's one row across, it is like 3 rows deep of books. So it's a lot of books. It's cool. It's definitely cool. If we had a house in the suburbs, definitely. I would not be thinking twice about it at all. However, we do have an apartment on the 12th floor in the city of Chicago. And that was expensive to move it here, and it will be expensive to move it out, and I would rather start to reduce before that happens. I also just love buying books. I love buying books. I actually do that as one part of my job, is as a book buyer. And I love buying books. I never feel bad about buying books, and I probably should. I don't think people should feel bad about buying books because they are good for you in some ways. However, buying to excess like I have is definitely a problem. It'd be so easy for me to just walk into a bookstore and just pick at least 5 books. I could probably do 10 or 15, and I could do that multiple times a week, a month, and not think about it until I got it home, and I was like, oh god, how am I gonna put all these on this shelf? So I definitely need to stop the intake of books in, so I'm hoping having a new updated device will help with that as well. I feel like I had another thought, but I can't remember. Additionally, I think that some of it came from the fact that I was part of the Book of the Month Club, which I still am. I'm going to wait till I get the free Book of the Year coupon thing, and then I'm going to discontinue that. Nothing against Book of the Month, I just have no self-control. I personally think the books are totally fine quality. I mean, they aren't the greatest books in the world. They aren't meant to be the greatest books in the world. Physically, they aren't an heirloom quality book. I don't expect a Folio Society version of a book for Book of the Month Club. Whatever. And that's totally fine. What I do really like about Book of the Month Club is that it's kind of a curated assortment. You're picking just from 5 books from 5 different genres, and typically, I mean, I assume some of it is like they've struck deals with these certain authors and publishers and whatever to be able to get the books to where they can sell them and make a profit when you only purchase them for $10. So whatever. So I don't know. Basically, like, they're curated in a way, and I do like a lot of books that I've gotten from them. It has gotten me to read way more books as an adult than anything else has in a very long time. I think, like, I did have like a bad experience with reading when I was a kid from something, and then I kind of stopped. I kind of got back into reading when I was like in grade school, middle school, Harry Potter came out, so I did read the first 4 Harry Potter books, really liked them, and then I actually totally stopped reading after. No, I read The Order of the Phoenix too, but then I didn't read the last 2 for the longest time, and then I couldn't even read it. I had to read it via audiobook just because I just couldn't read it. In 2019. So luckily I finished it before all her terribleness came out, so I'm like, okay, I got to enjoy it. And then she's a terrible person, so now I don't get to think about it, and that's fine, whatever. Anyway, but yeah, so I do like Book of the Month. In my dream world, I was joking about this with my husband, I would actually love if Book of the Month came out with an e-reader, and then you got to pick your e-books that got delivered to your e-reader. That would be like, but I figured with this, I can do my own version of that. I can just look at the list of what books they came out with for the month and then select which ones I actually would be willing to purchase or put on hold at the library. So yeah. And then finally, and this is where I think like the stylus will come in handy, is like I really want to think more critically about what I read. So I think what I often see when I look at Bookstagram or Book Talk is people just like binge reading really weird stuff. And I'm like, why are you reading, like, yeah, you're reading 600 books a year, but you're reading 600 YA books a year, or 600 mafia romance books a year, or 600 paranormal romance books a year, or reverse harem and all this stuff. And while I think you should read it whatever you want, I think reading is totally fine. I also think you need to, I don't know, think about what you're reading and be like, okay, is this actually worth my time to read? Not everything is going to be worth your time to read, and that's totally fine. I also think like maybe a book doesn't necessarily have anything important to say in and of itself, but maybe the rise of all these things and Book Talk and everything does have something interesting to say about our culture, and I think that is totally fair. But yeah, I have a Bookstagram account. I definitely want to write more thoughtful reviews for that Bookstagram account. So I'm thinking with the annotations and the notes that I can take with this, that will help me achieve that goal. But yeah, so that's ultimately why I got the Kobo Libre Colour. I know this isn't like the most interesting video of all time by any means. I do really like books. I like bookstores. I like reading. I like the idea of books. I like book culture. I just end up not reading a lot of the time. And I think some of that comes down to I love the idea of a physical book, but when it gets down to it, I actually find physical books kind of cumbersome to deal with. I tend to do better with audiobooks. I'm not going to lie. I like the idea of being able to multitask. That's something that really helps me read more books, but I also think I personally need to be okay with not multitasking. And this could be a good bridge to do that. I know not everybody. Well, I'm not even going to get into that. I'm just talking about me. Like, whatever. Like, I guess what I'll say is this. I don't think there's one form of reading that's superior than the other. I think all forms of reading are equally valid, whatever. I think for me, I need to stop relying so much on audiobooks, because when I do that, I tend to think I need to be overly productive when I do that. And I need, for my own mental health, insanity, and long-term longevity in this world, I need to be okay with just sitting down and reading a book and seeing that as a good thing in and of itself. But yeah, so those are my thoughts about the Kobo. I'm now going to take some time to convert my Kindle books into the Kobo format, whatever that is. I guess that's